The South China Sea is a volatile region where power plays often go unseen by the outside world. It's a sea where tensions between countries like China and the United States are almost palpable, as their ships sometimes come dangerously close. And now it's happened again. A Chinese spy ship approached an American cargo vessel at an alarming distance. Tension on board was at its peak, and what happened next, no one could have predicted. The South China Sea is one of the busiest shipping routes in the world, known for the many tensions between countries that claim parts of these waters. China claims a large portion of this sea as its territory, despite these claims being internationally disputed. In this region, American ships, both military and civilian, are often seen defending the right to free passage, which frequently leads to dangerous confrontations with Chinese vessels. During a recent voyage, an American cargo ship encountered a Chinese spy vessel. The Chinese ship approached at close range, perceived as an intimidating move. Such encounters at sea are not uncommon and often serve as a means for China to assert its influence in the area. They demonstrate that they are in control of the situation, noticing and tracking any presence of foreign vessels. The American cargo ship en route to a major port in the region attempted to establish radio contact with the Chinese ships, as prescribed by international maritime protocols. The aim was to prevent misunderstandings and ensure the safety of both crews. However, no response came from the Chinese vessel, which heightened the tension aboard the American ship. Silence can often be seen as a deliberate choice to intimidate or provoke a response from the other side. The situation remained tense, with the Chinese ship staying at a distance considered dangerous. It continued maneuvering close to the cargo ship, creating the impression that it intended to challenge the Americans or test their reaction. Such actions are risky. A misjudgment or an unexpected move can quickly escalate into a serious incident, especially in an area where tensions are already high. For the crew of the American cargo ship, it was essential to remain calm and avoid responding in a way that might escalate the situation. The captain issued clear instructions: take no aggressive actions and monitor the situation without jeopardizing the ship's safety. This is a common tactic in such situations, to adopt a cautious stance and avoid provoking further incidents. The presence of military and surveillance ships in these busy waters remains a constant source of tension, and each incident adds to the growing unrest in the region. But what makes the South China Sea such a hotspot, and why are China and the United States so active here? To truly understand this situation, we need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture of this region. The South China Sea is one of the most strategic waterways in the world. Each year, trillions of dollars worth of trade goods pass through it, making it a vital artery for the global economy. The strait serves as a lifeline for shipping, especially for energy supplies like oil and gas that are transported to various parts of Asia. China, however, has by far the most aggressive claims. It asserts control over almost 90% of the South China Sea via the so-called 9-dash line. This claim is not recognized internationally and was even rejected by the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague in 2016. Nonetheless, China continues to expand its influence by building artificial islands and establishing military bases. These islands are equipped with radar systems, anti-aircraft defenses, and military airfields, solidifying China's permanent presence in the region. American vessels, both civilian and military, operate in this region to uphold the principle of freedom of navigation. This means that the United States, along with allies like Japan and Australia, regularly conduct patrols to demonstrate that these waters should remain accessible to all under international maritime law. China, however, sees these patrols as provocations and threats to its territorial claims, which leads to incidents like the ones between the American cargo ship and the Chinese spy ship. The American cargo ship in this incident was a large commercial vessel tasked with transporting essential goods through these disputed waters. These ships are often equipped with modern communication systems and safety protocols to de-escalate such confrontations. This particular cargo ship was carrying out its mission in close coordination with the U.S. Navy, which patrolled nearby to ensure safety. The U.S. presence in the region is not only aimed at keeping shipping routes secure, but also at supporting regional allies and sending a clear message to China that the international community will not easily allow one nation to control access to these vital sea lanes. The Chinese spy ship that approached the cargo vessel likely belongs to the People's Liberation Army Navy of the People's Republic of China. These ships are often equipped with advanced surveillance technology to monitor foreign vessels and are designed to gather intelligence and support other military units. By behaving in this manner, China likely intended to send a message. They see and control everything that happens within what they claim as their territorial waters. Now, these situations are not without risk. Both crews must remain calm and strictly follow protocols to prevent a minor incident from escalating into an international conflict. What's often visible to the outside world is that these moments of tension are actually part of a larger strategic game. Both nations test each other's boundaries, probe for weaknesses, and aim to strengthen their position in the region without engaging in direct conflict. Do you think the South China Sea should remain open to all, or should countries like China exercise more control? Let us know in the comments. So let's continue. How does the American crew handle a threatening situation that could escalate at any moment? On board the American cargo ship, the crew members knew that they were in a dangerous situation. When a Chinese spy ship comes this close, the crew must follow strict protocols to prevent the situation from getting out of control. Safety and calmness are paramount. These are not moments for improvisation. Each crew member has a specific task and must act quickly and efficiently to avoid escalation. The first thing the American crew did was attempt to make radio contact with the Chinese ship. This is done according to international maritime guidelines to prevent misunderstandings that could lead to accidents. However, the lack of response from the Chinese side made it harder for the Americans to assess the intentions of their adversaries. The uncertainty created a tense atmosphere on board. The cargo ship then sent out a series of standard warning signals, such as sounding the ship's horn, which is an internationally recognized method to signal potentially dangerous situations. The Chinese spy ship, however, remained close by, which only intensified the threat. The captain of the American ship had to consider different scenarios. Should they change course to avoid the situation, or should they maintain their current course to avoid showing that they were intimidated? In such cases, every decision is crucial, as even the smallest deviation can be misinterpreted by the other side. The American crew was ordered to take several preparatory measures. Safety protocols required certain areas of the ship to be closed off in case the situation escalated. These precautions are intended to protect both the crew and the cargo should a confrontation arise. Additionally, extra crew members were called to the bridge and deck to closely monitor the situation. These kinds of incidents can escalate quickly, and the crew knew that every detail mattered. An important part of the response was also to establish communication with nearby American and Allied ships. Although the cargo ship itself was not a heavily armed military vessel, several American Navy ships were stationed relatively close by, ready to provide support if needed. Coordination between different vessels in such situations is crucial. This is part of the broader strategy of the U.S. Navy. No ship sails alone, especially not in disputed areas like the South China Sea. Meanwhile, drones and surveillance equipment were also used to monitor the Chinese ship. These drones provided a detailed aerial view of the spy ship's actions and movements, which was essential for better understanding the Chinese crew's intentions. Drones are an invaluable part in such situations, as they can quickly relay information to the ship's command post, aiding in making the right decisions. The U.S. government has repeatedly emphasized that the South China Sea is international waters and that they will continue to advocate for free navigation. This means that the US regularly conducts military exercises in the region, often in collaboration with allies like Japan and Australia. These exercises are intended to show that the world will not allow one country to control access to these waters. They also send a clear signal to China that the international community will not be intimidated. Japan, concerned with its own maritime security, has also actively participated in joint exercises with the US and other allies. Japan sees China's growing military assertiveness as a direct threat to its safety, especially since Japan relies on free shipping routes for its trade and energy supplies. As a result, Japan has significantly increased its defensive spending and has strengthened cooperation with other countries in the region to form a collective counterweight against China. Australia, which also has strong economic interests in the region, has likewise increased its involvement. Despite its strong trade relations with China, Australia has become increasingly critical of China's military expansion in the South China Sea. The country has conducted joint military patrols with the US and Japan, and is actively involved in diplomatic initiatives to curb China's influence. However, these actions have also led to tensions with China, sometimes resulting in economic repercussions such as trade restrictions imposed by China. The diplomatic consequences of these ongoing tensions are far-reaching. On one hand, they lead countries in the region to work more closely together to protect themselves against China's expansion. On the other, it results in an increased military presence in the region, heightening the risk of incidents and misunderstandings. Each party is walking a fine line, with every step closely watched by both allies and rivals. Within ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the situation also creates some divisions. On an international level, the situation in the South China Sea has also led to heightened diplomatic tensions between China and other major powers. The United States has repeatedly imposed sanctions on Chinese companies involved in the construction of artificial islands and has voiced support for the countries in the region that feel threatened. China, in turn, accuses the US of interference and provocation, seeing the American military presence as a threat to its national security. How are countries preparing for possible escalations, and what are they doing to maintain their military readiness in this increasingly complex situation? While diplomatic efforts continue, the question remains: what if the situation in the South China Sea escalates further? The military preparations of both China and the United States, as well as their allies, indicate that each party is aware of the potential for escalation. The risk of a sea incident unintentionally spiraling into a larger conflict is real, especially in such a tense area. What could happen if the situation gets out of hand? The current strategic climate in the South China Sea is such that any incident could potentially escalate. When military ships are within a few hundred meters of each other, both sides are alert and ready to act, and the smallest mistake could have significant consequences. China's use of gray zone tactics, such as approaching foreign vessels without actually firing, is intended to test boundaries and challenge opponents without openly initiating war. China, meanwhile, is also strengthening its military capabilities in the region. In addition to building artificial islands and deploying military assets, China has significantly expanded its navy. It now has one of the largest navies in the world, both in terms of number of ships and its capabilities. The United States and its allies have repeatedly stated that they will defend free passage in the South China Sea, while China is equally determined to strengthen its claims in these waters. These conflicting interests make the situation particularly dangerous, as neither side seems willing to back down. Moreover, a conflict in the South China Sea would have significant consequences for the global economy. With trillions of dollars of goods passing through these waters each year, any disruption to shipping would have devastating effects on trade and energy supplies. This raises the stakes for all parties involved. It's not just about military protocol, but also about economic power and stability. Despite these risks, diplomatic channels remain open. Both China and the United States have a vested interest in stability, and considerable efforts are being made to keep communication open and prevent incidents. Back-channel negotiations are underway, and there are established protocols for using ship horns, light signals, and radio communications to avoid accidents. Nevertheless, the risk remains, particularly given the number of ships from various countries operating in a relatively small area. The South China Sea remains a place where power, influence, and tension converge, and any incident could tip the balance. How do you think this situation will develop in the future? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next video.